Hello, hello. Good morning. I'd like to welcome Joe Mancini from BankProv. Very happy to have Joe on Travillian next. Uh, Joe and I have had multiple chats over the last 6 months or so, learning more about what's happening at BankProv. Very exciting stuff happening. So thank you, Joe. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Yeah, no problem, Keith. It's always a pleasure to speak to you and catch up, and excited about getting together here today.
Yeah, and I know before BankProv, you were at another bank we know very well, Radius. We actually had Chris Tremont on Travillian Next a few months ago. Of course, Radius being purchased by Lending Club. I think that deal closed earlier this year. But seeing that evolution at Radius, that probably was a sight to behold, right?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I'd been with Radius for about 4 or 5 years, and we were able to accomplish quite a bit there. Great team, great leadership. That always helps, and you hear that from a lot of successful companies. But to actually live and breathe it, it's different. But they were able to do some amazing stuff, and it was a great team effort. And our venture into more of the digital space and some of the partnerships, and it definitely was a live and learn type of situation. But we had the right team there, and it just clicked. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, Radius was always highlighted as one of those banks to emulate when we're speaking with clients. Radius always kind of comes up as, oh yeah, we want to be like them, or let's do what they did. And it takes talent, it takes strategy. And I know Mike Butler has taken his talents to Manhattan, actually, where I am right now, to help Grasshopper. So we'll see how that goes. But now BankProv, amazing story. If people don't know, BankProv was Provident Bank. I think you rebranded as BankProv, but the bank has been around since 1828, 10th oldest bank in the country. 1828, that's amazing. And now kind of to see that evolution into crypto and banking as a service and APIs. Tell me a little bit about that story, and also your CEO, Dave Mansfield. We had a chat with him a few weeks ago. Great leader. But to take that strategy and see kind of what's coming down the pike and move in that direction. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you nailed it. 10th oldest bank in the country, right? So it's talk about a culture that's been embedded for a long time, and really trying to reinvent what banking was, and after all that time. And so you mentioned Dave Mansfield, great leader for the bank, and just has strong strategic overview and vision in terms of where we'd like to be going. And so bring us back. I've been with the bank for about a year at this point, and just over a year, and just seeing what we've been able to accomplish in that time. And we did rebrand last year. We realized that there was some opportunities there to really put ourselves in a different spotlight. Some of these partnerships that we're getting into, and what we're able to offer some of these services. We're very much involved in the crypto space and expanding those services, both from a lending and deposit standpoint. Banking as a service, and we also have our traditional small business, traditional commercial offerings as well. So it's really focusing on that and continuing that development. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fun team to be part of, and again, great people, great culture, a lot to do, and we've got a lot more it's on our roadmap.
Yeah, Joe. Wanted to kind of touch on that point. I know you had a press release a few weeks ago about ProvXchange. Can you tell me a little bit about ProvXchange, kind of the effort and work that went into that? It seems like a real cutting edge technology. Love to learn more about that. That seems to be a big project that everybody was working on there.
Yeah, so ProvXchange is our internally developed API driven network exchange program. And so what it does, our platform, and what we do there is basically, you'll see it, other banks offer a similar platform in Signature and Silvergate, 24/7, 365, payment access, real times. And essentially for us, it's, an onboarded client. These are onboarded vetted clients that can essentially transfer funds in real time and any time during the day. And we see a real need there in development, in particular in some of the crypto spaces, and also some other industries out there as well. But we developed this. We have a strong internal development team and a lot of experience, and really trying to look at how we can compete with some of these other players out there. And so for us, this is our version. We're fortunate to have a great partnership with COCC, who's our core provider. Real-time core, API driven there as well. So it does enable us to be able to build on top of, right? So a lot of functionality there, a lot of excitement around ProvXchange. We've released phase 1 and looking into currently building into phase 2 and developing more of our overall API offerings.
No, that's great. And when you talk about banking as a service and API and your partnerships, that is really, and some of our clients are at the forefront of banking as a service, and they're expanding their teams. We just helped place a fintech president for a banking as a service client. It's really become almost too much for a CEO to handle all by himself or herself, needing kind of a fintech president to oversee that area of the bank because it's exploding. I mean, there's a ton of fintechs out there. There's not many banking as a service partners that they can trust and work with, and scaling it up is not easy. So the banks who have been investing in it, strategizing for the last 3 or 4 years, they're really ahead of the game. Can you tell me about some of your BaaS solutions and API solutions for potential fintechs?
Yeah, so we're fortunate to have a couple good partners in that space as well. We've got Treasury Prime and Modern Treasury, right? So to be able to offer a few different, kind of agnostic versions of these connection points. And so between what we're building out and what they're able to offer, it's been a real advantage for us to be able to have that really trifecta of offerings. And so for us, it's, again, we're really trying to hone down our target market and really determine where our focus point's been. And that's something we've done strategically throughout the year. And we continue to refine that. So for us, our API development, again, we're developing these internally on our end, but continue to balance that out with some of these partnerships that offer these services as well. We see banking as a service. We really, as a bank, we split our direction really into a few different areas, right? As I mentioned, kind of the traditional piece of it, where we still focus on those traditional banking services. We have the crypto component, and we've got the BaaS piece. So again, it's really focusing on those needs. No,
that's great, man. And I know one of those partnerships, it was big news a few months ago, was Anchorage. Your partnership with Anchorage. Got my notes here because I didn't want to get it wrong. Nationally chartered digital asset bank. I know Nathan McCauley. Anchorage has popped up a lot lately, and having I guess Ethereum-backed loans. For kind of the layman out there, what does that mean? So providing loans backed with Ethereum as collateral. I would assume that is the way to go there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and that's really an area we've seen quite a bit of interest in lately. I think what you're seeing is crypto has certainly picked up a lot of steam by consumers and institutional players out there, but there's still potentially some hesitation on spending and really trying to figure out how to use that crypto. So a lot of folks have seen some interest in lending on crypto as collateral, right? So if I don't want to spend or sell my $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, I can just lend on it and eventually get it back, hold that collateral. And it's a great opportunity, I think, because it continues to allow folks to stay involved in crypto, and it continues to. But yeah, so Anchorage is one of our first, is actually the first partnership with Ethereum-backed loans out there, and so proud to have that out there. We've also worked with a couple other companies, and we've got some pretty big names out there in the works that we're working with and finalized some deals on. So very excited about what's to come in the next quarter or two for us.
Yeah, it's really fantastic to speak with banks like yours. You still have those values, those community bank values, which we love. We love our community banks, but you understand that the market is also moving in a different direction. So you want to keep that core that you've had since 1828, but also understand that people are looking for different products, looking for different solutions, ways to bank, those type of things. To wrap up here, Joe, I'd love to know, you were at Radius, now you're at BankProv. Do you have any advice for maybe smaller community banks who are looking to evolve in a way, maybe not to the level of a BankProv or Radius, but what's that kind of that first step? There's always that first step is the hardest. That Chinese proverb,
Yeah.
1,000-mile journey starts with that first step. What is that first step for our audience out there?
Yeah, the first step I would say is, having trust in your strategy and your leadership, right? I think that's where, building your culture. We've seen so many good companies, so many good banks out there that have a good strategy, but the culture just doesn't match it, right? So,
Yep.
you believe in the vision, you see where you're going, but maybe the team doesn't believe it. So, I think that's probably one of the most important pieces. You can have the best strategy out there, but your culture will definitely, if it's not in line, it's going to interrupt that significantly. So, I think it's having the appropriate team around you. It's having the confidence and knowing that taking a calculated risk in some of these areas, and and really sticking to it, right? I think it's going to be challenging. You're going to have some regulatory oversight, that especially in areas that are right now have no regulatory oversight. They're still developing. So there's going to be some discussions there. But look, again, I think it's all about taking the right steps, calculated risks, and believing in what your vision is, and sticking to it.
No, like culture and being able to fail and accept, and not failure in a bad way, but maybe it doesn't. That's what these fintechs and the fintechs I partner with for talent search and talent advisory, they want candidates, or they want people who aren't afraid to take, like you said, calculated risks, think outside the box. And that's tough in the banking world, where everything is risk adverse. Banking is built on low risk, but sometimes, if you look at Square and MX and some of these companies out there that are growing quickly, they've failed at projects or strategy probably that we don't even know of behind the scenes. But they're okay with that, because that failure probably led to a new direction that now is working for them. So being able to have that team that's able to do that in an industry that's really, and I'm not saying it's wrong, risk adverse. That's, you give out a loan, you're looking for low risk, but you've seen it probably at Radius and BankProv, that you have to be able to jump in full force, and if it doesn't work out, say, okay, we need to change direction.
Yeah, that's a huge, and I'm glad you said that, because it is a critical area. I mean, it's almost like the fail, but fail fast, and don't be afraid to pull back. And I think that's part of the challenge. Is I think a lot of times you're seeing the companies that aren't doing well in this space right now are the ones that just hold on to something too long that's just not working, right? So I think it's a critical mentality to have. It takes confidence, it takes some guts to do that. But I think it's not easy for folks to admit that something isn't working. But again, we've seen it. It's worked for us at Radius. It's working for us at BankProv. We've become more selective based on what we've seen that's not worked, right? So that's an area that certainly it makes you stronger as an organization. You see what's working, what's not, and just not being afraid to pull the plug if it gets to that point.
Yeah, and having the backing of your CEO and the board, knowing that, look, this could go in a few different directions. So having the board know what's happening, the CEO, it all starts at the top. I always say that. You and I have talked about sports. I love sports, but just that culture from the ownership down to the GM to the head coach permeates throughout the whole team, sets the tone. And once you set that tone, failing fast, if something doesn't work or somebody comes in, a new player, and it's not working out, being able to cut that fast. Those are great points. I consistently hear those type of points, but it's tough to do. Like you said, it's not easy.
It's not easy, but it does pay off if you're doing it well and you believe in what you're trying to do. It'll pay off. Like you said, having a strong board, like we're fortunate to have, in our leadership team is critical. But it's the team that supports and making those right decisions. And it's cross-functional. It's having different folks learning different opportunities, not being afraid to hire people from outside of banking, right? That's another thing
that's huge.
You're seeing. It's that experience, right? So I mean, look, it's a belief, it's a cultural piece, but it definitely is. It takes some courage for sure.
Yeah, and we've had clients who say they specifically want people from outside the industry, just to bring in, especially with innovative product or engineering or strategy, just to get a different viewpoint. Because if everybody's been kind of looking at the same thing, it's good to kind of shake it up a little bit with a different viewpoint. But no, thanks, Joe. It's been a pleasure, watching your bank and seeing the press releases come out. A lot of exciting things. I can only imagine in the next 6 to 12 months, a lot more press releases will be coming out. So I look forward to our next chat, meeting in person, hopefully soon. I know there's a lot of conferences coming up in the fall. I'm not sure if you're traveling to any conferences. I'm going to try to get to Money 2020 and maybe the MX conference in Utah. But yeah, it'll be good to actually meet everybody in person. Everybody I've been Zooming with over the last year and a half.
Yeah, that's an interesting part. I joined a company, halfway through a pandemic,
That's
and
right.
I still have folks at my work that I haven't seen, and we have a work function tonight that, I'll hopefully be able to see a lot of folks I haven't met in person yet. But yeah, it is. I look forward to those in-person conferences, and definitely we'll connect at some point for sure. I look forward to it.
That's great. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, man. And we'll talk soon. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.